Kia ora, welcome back to What's in Your Kete. I'm your host Jane, and today we're excited to bring you a special two-part episode with my amazing creative friends Paula Conroy and Neke Moa. Neke Moa is a celebrated adornment and object artist known for her work with pounamu. Paula Conroy is a tohunga from Taranaki and is skilled in gathering and sharing artist stories. Let's get into it. Kia ora korua. So choice to have you both on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, me.
Kia ora. Yep, ngā mihi kia koe, hoki, e hoa.
To start off, I wanted to give you a big mihi and congratulations on your upcoming trip to Munich. Can you tell us all about it?
Hey, congratulations, Aotearoa, going to Munich.
yeah.
Look out.
The rest of the world. Yeah, so Munich Jewellery Week, which happens every year in March. So it's a really a huge gathering, similar to Festpac, I would say, as far up as, but this is like instead of just being Pacific, this is the whole world coming to Munich for 1 week to showcase what's happening in the contemporary art jewellery world. Every year they have a senior jeweller artist that they showcase at the Pinakothek. The Pinakothek is like one of the biggest museum gallery in Munich, and it's called the Rotunda because it's a big circle. It's so massive. Anyway, in the top floor, they're going to be showcasing Warwick Freeman, who is a very prestigious and well-known jeweller here in New Zealand, but in Aotearoa, but also over in Munich. He's been around probably over 50 years practice. So Fingers is about 50. Yeah, he goes even more, I think. Yeah. So his work is being showcased there, and so that's huge. That's momentous for Aotearoa to have that happen. It's never happened before. And so with that, and I think Warwick Freeman also has really set up a New Zealand kind of, the idea that New Zealand has a contemporary jewellery scene because I think we're kind of so far away that I think we are still sort of like not really known for this, because contemporary jewellery really comes from Europe and America, and it sort of is here because we have Germans, we've had quite a few different Kobe Boss art, quite a number of Europeans who have come and settled here and sort of started up that a kind of European style way of looking at jewellery, because we don't really and we used to have a lot of jewellery schools here, but they've all shut down. So, and Peter Decker's, and we've got Carl Fritz and Lisa Walker here as well, who are very well known over in Europe, but not so much here. But it's becoming more well known. But it's a small community. But anyway, every year, we are all going. 3 of us have been chosen by Current Obsession, which is a magazine, editorial magazine, which they bring out each year, and they're highlighting all of the New Zealand artists, jewellers that have kind of been, like Rowan's got a little segment in there. She was in Schmuck. Schmuck is an exhibition, the longest running exhibition in anywhere, and you can apply to go to be part of Schmuck. It's 600 plus from around the world try to enter. 66 every year get chosen to exhibit in Schmuck. There's been quite a few Kiwis that have been in Schmuck. There's about 3 every year who get to, and then CNZ have been funding airfares and accommodation for whoever gets into Schmuck, because it's so hard to get into. So we 3, me, Sophia, Tekala Smith, and Stevie Hokamo, are going as part of through the CNZ International Fund, funded by them through the Current Obsession magazine. And we are going over to do a few activations in Munich and also show a bit of work, wear some beautiful adornments, and just network and see the rest of the jewellery week, because what happens is pop-up exhibitions everywhere throughout Munich, also within the gallery space. All the gallery spaces will be taken over by jewellers from around the world, and also jewellery schools come and visit, and then they showcase what their students have been up to. And then we get talks and lectures and all sorts of other things that happen, fashion shows. It's kind of a breakdown. It happens for about 7 days. And then, so there's quite a number going from, there's a few from Object Space, because Warwick's also been, got a crew from Object Space, which is helping him get all his mahi over to huge gallery, huge amount of, it's been a huge exercise to get, I think, all his work over, apparently. I was talking to Kim Patton about that. But that's kind of a wrap up about what it is. And then we are all sort of going to do we were wondering what we were going to do. And then we sort of came down to a koha ceremony. It sort of turned into something. It was a suggestion and an idea that I thought I had. And then that turned into something. Now it has turned into something quite large.
Can I have a crack at that? So, contemporary jewellery, to me, being someone who's not a jeweller, new to the concept, and so through reasonably fresh eyes and looking at what do contemporary jewellers do, what are they bringing to the world, I have learnt that the contemporary jewellers give people like me an opportunity to look closer at things, I might see every day, and it might have a bit of a twist on it or a bit of a quirk. Contemporary jewellers make things that make you stop in your walk. Those make you stop mid-step to go back to have another look. And the reason that you stop to have another look is because the things that they create do not fit into the mainstream jewellery shop. So you're not going to see their stuff at the malls, you're not going to see their stuff on everyday TV shows. You might see some of their stuff in the movies. You might see some of their stuff on the avant-garde catwalk. But they really have the traditional, trained, technical smithing of jewellery down pat. They have that. And then the way that they look at the world, the way they answer questions, the way they address political issues are all wrapped up in their jewellery. And so their jewellery is always going to be new, it's always going to be fresh. And I think the most successful pieces start a conversation. They make you question perhaps your everyday world. And New Zealanders have quite a few contemporary artists, and lots of them are flash at it. Lots of them are at the top of their game. That's why such a large contingency of them are going to Munich, because it is hard to get into those shows. Some of those shows are invite only, and this year somewhere between 15 and 20 New Zealand contemporary artists have been invited to show over there. So Neke makes it sound all a bit ho-hum. Maybe it's because she's been there a few times. This will be time number 4. So, but for those of us who are new, it's not ho-hum. It's like the biggest contemporary jewellery party of the year?
I have a million questions from that. Thank you. So thinking of this big jewelry party of the year, I think consider it to be like the New York Fashion Week of the year. I guess it's the biggest thing that all the Paris Fashion Week.
It's probably where they go to buy their adornment for the up and coming shows, actually.
And they do have a New York Jewellery Week too, which I'm going to go to next time. I'd like to go to.
That sounds really interesting.
It's getting huge, actually. New York Jewellery Week.
Do you find that there is a theme? Is there a theme, or on the annual, if there is this big week that happens every year for contemporary jewellery, is there a certain material that is commonly used for in the northern hemisphere? Say, rather than when I think about us in the other end of the globe.
Found. Found. That is a material that a lot of these jewellers use.
Found materials.
Materials, like shells and driftwood.
Ours are a little bit more closer to nature. You'll notice a lot of, even Warwick's, Warwick does a lot of stone work. Warwick does a lot of shell work. And you can see a lot of the symbolism within his work is specific based, mana moana based. A lot of,
I actually just pulled him up on the Google next to me, and I'm like, wow, he's got some beautiful, moana, Pacifica
shells, koru,
shapes and
leaves. So Neke's found materials are found. We walk 2 hours a day looking for things to find for Neke's jewellery collection. But the challenge is to look at her pieces and find the value in them, because the materials she uses are traditional treasures that have been underlooked and undervalued, but they are treasures that we all have access to, and we should be wearing them. Yeah,
I don't use found. I do say gifted.
Because artists in big cities, their found stuff sometimes looks like cigarette butts and broken pens and pencils.
And it's just such a diverse groups. The Europeans, it was kind of very metal. It's very technical, and it's kind of, that was when I first saw a lot of the European jewellery. It's very, straight lines and very skillfully made and very much metal based. Contemporary jewellery is what I first sort of started seeing, and then less like it's broken down, it's cut apart. Like I use whole shells, and I like to use the whole quite often to showcase the materials, like the natural materials, whereas they will sort of break them down and slice them up, and you might sort of get a glimpse of bits and pieces of the materiality, but it's it's very different from I found from Aotearoa. Like we have a very stone bone shell fibre, and then form, shape, sculpturally, like there's, and we've got so many amazing jewellers here, so many amazing artists who work in the adornment, contemporary jewellery specifically. But then if you look at toi Māori and adornment, whakarake, and if they wanted to, like we've got all our carvers and stuff, they could easily, go into the contemporary jewellery sort of into that space, that community. But it's kind of, I kind of went in that way because when I went to Whatireia, having Peter Deckers there, and he was a huge advocate for contemporary jewellery, but it was very Eurocentric, and so it was really hard for me to express myself, I felt, but because he was very much like, oh no, you can't do that, that's a bit tribal, that's a bit this, and he was a bit like that. It was a bit not 2014, so he was a little bit Eurocentric in that way, but I just kept on going. I said, nah, I'm just going to do what I want. This is me. I'm going to stay true to what I want to do. So I did. I just did, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, you know, like I know he was trying to mold us in a very European way, and that was him though. That was just how he was and how he got brought up, being Dutch, being in his way of doing that was just to push us towards more European. Not seeing the value in anything Māori particular or anything New Zealand or anything Pacific, where I was like way into the Pacific adornment, right into our Māori tonga, and because I'd already been to Whānau as well, have done um, the DNA, the design and art course there, and done like weaving and taniko and all that stuff. So I was already in that area. I was already there, and this was just another way. This was another outlet for me to find what I was going to do as an artist and what I wanted to represent. And so contemporary jewellery still fits in that for me, but it doesn't. I can see how it, like other toy Māori artists don't really necessarily go into that space so much.
Well, you're a tight group.
Yeah.
The jewellers. You're all friendly and lovely, but you're a pretty tight group. You're pretty hard to break into. From what I've heard from other artists.
Oh, right. I don't know. But I think this year, so Nelson Jewellery Week, which is coming up when we get back, there's going to be a lot more. There's actually a few more Māori I saw coming into this space. Was the jewellery adornment, because they're not going to Munich. Okay, that's a whole different world. But here in Aotearoa, we can definitely be there. Like I saw a few at the Suter. I think they're having a big exhibition, and I saw that Sean, I think, might be in that.
Matthew,
Matthew McIntyre Wilson. He's one of the only other, and Arita Wilkinson.
They were kind of,
and Gina too. Matchett was a jeweler. So was Lisa before she became digital superstar. There were so many actually when I think about it. And then Chris, I always thought Chris Charteris he thought he was Māori until he wasn't. So he was like one of my role models. I think because first of all, you get seen. People don't ask questions. Most of the time, they won't come up to you or ask questions, but sometimes they do. And I think what we wear, how we wear it, I think that's the first for me and for when I was talking to Paula about showcasing, because we are what we wear, because I'm an adornment artist. This is our face, this is my mahi, this is our mahi. And so showcasing that first of all, because that's at the forefront of it. And then that's showing our roimi, our materials from here. So that gives you place and location kind of in our face. And so I will take stone, I will take shell, I'll take bone, I'll take, things that will bring attention, probably bigger pieces than smaller pieces. Because sometimes lots of jewelers will wear intimate pieces, really cool things. Like they always wear really cool stuff, like really interesting, until you actually go right up to it and have a look. Turn it around, have it a good look before you really know what it's about. And that's the conversations most of us have is first of all, who are you wearing? What are you wearing? Who are you wearing? What are you wearing? It starts everything.
That's what makes the jeweler, when they get close and then flip it on its back and see how you made it.
Yeah. That's the sharing. That's the cool part. It's instant. It instantly brings you into someone's place or space that you never would have usually got that close to someone for any particular reason. And then you start the conversations. And then, it brings in, it builds relationships. That's the whakawhanaungatanga, and then you can start on other things, talking about other stuff after that. That's the first thing that I always sort of like. Well, you present yourself, how you sort of want to be seen, and that's what you're wearing.
One of Neke's contingency, Stevie Hokamai, her partner is going Jamie Berry is also going to Munich Jewellery Week. So while we're over there, we're going to grab some footage, take some really great photos, do some interviews. I'm really focused on the koha ceremony that Neke was talking about before. The part I'm focusing on is the koha ceremony. The koha ceremony is going to be the start of a relationship between some of the jewellers and some of the institutions over in Munich that are holding some pieces from New Zealand. So some of the people on the contingency will be looking at relationship building between institutions for things further down the track. Some of the adornment artists will be looking at particular types of adornment. I'm really interested in trying to connect again with the wider side of the pieces that these institutions have. It's really important to me to show the pieces that they aren't forgotten. Some of them have been away from the country for nearly 100 years. And so for me, it's really important that those pieces know that over in New Zealand, here are some of us, we remember you, you're remembered. I'll try really hard to get a whole lot of stories, perhaps connecting the pieces back to their whānau in New Zealand, in case they have forgotten that their pieces were there. Perhaps it was not within, because we don't know how the pieces got there. Were they gifted? Were they taken? And I can understand that families could easily lose track of a precious piece like that. So that'll be my focus going over there. And then I will also be networking like mad, trying to get other people's stories. So we've contacted the MOA, the Museum of Art in Vancouver, to ask if we could go back and again have a look at some of the taonga that might be at the back. I'm particularly interested in a fishing set from Taranaki as my starting point, because I'm from Taranaki, so there were some stones there from Opunaki. I'm quite interested in those. We're interested in some of the stones that are over there. They've just been, some of them things have been just classified as stone, blading stone. I'm really interested in that. What sort of stone are we talking? Hopefully we're not talking Pounamu. I'm really hoping that we're talking Pakohi when we get there. We're going back to Germany in June, so hopefully if we make a really good connection on our short trip through Canada, this time we'll be able to perhaps stop over there again in June and go back for a deeper visit. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, so we get to go. So the fella that Paula was talking to happens to have already worked at the place in the museum in Munich that we're going to see. So he has already worked there. Now is working in Vancouver. So that's really interesting. So the Museum of the Five Continents is the one in Munich we're going to, and they have quite a large Pacific Oceania collection. Apparently it's been visited by a Samoan group, but never by a New Zealand group. So it'll be really cool actually to go in there and have a look. And Hilke, who is she's not the director, she's one of the head curators there, or whatever they call themselves. She came over to Aotearoa last year and had a look around at some of the museums in Aotearoa, and also is really looking at wanting to change the way, like how their museum interacts with people and how it showcases its the taonga there. So Zoe Black, she's had such a great conversations with Hilke about how to, as Hilke puts it, decolonise the museum space. And so it's been really good that she's, those conversations have started within, because German bureaucracy and hierarchies, and they're quite strict within those spaces. And so seeing if that is one of the things that unfolds from our visit there, and the ability that we're even getting to be able to take some of the taonga out from the back is quite an impressive. That's never happened really within that.
It's not really
in that museum.
It's not really a European thing. The model is just looking through the glass, perhaps a metre or two back from the glass if you could. Whereas the New Zealand model is a bit more friendly. Like in New Zealand, you can ask to access any of the New Zealand archives in a museum, but it's really good practice to let them know ahead of time, because things need to be checked out. Sometimes the environment needs to stay. So things, you can't just rock up on the day. But with a bit of notice, New Zealanders can go back there, especially if you're really looking for something from your area, your family, if you have a passion and they have something that fits that. Most museums will have their collection online to look at first. And so knowing that as part of the New Zealand museum culture, that's the thinking we use to approach the museum in Vancouver. And it was really nice to get an email back from there saying, well, yes, as Māori from New Zealand, you have a right to come and see your New Zealand taonga at any time. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your cousins. So that was really good to hear. And I'm not sure if they have opened their doors in this way before. It'll be a first time for them as well.